Just, I guess the first thing is just the acquisition yesterday with Mikheyev and the reasons for bringing him in.
Yeah, no, we've liked him for quite some time. And then when he became available and, just the situation that Vancouver was in, I think it made sense to pursue it and get a little bit of a sweetener to do so and at a lower cost than his original AAV. So it made a lot of sense, strengthen the middle six of the lineup and add a very legitimate NHL player that we think has the ability and opportunity to take another step with us next year. So we're really excited about it.
Are you relatively confident you can get something done with Lafferty before July 1st?
I hope so. You never know until it's done. We'll talk, the rest of the way to July 1st, and hopefully we can find something that works for both sides.
How is your time split right now between draft prep, which I'm assuming is largely completed by this point, and free agency and trades and things like that?
Yeah,
is it 50-50 or is it lean one or the other?
No, I think we're definitely focused on the draft right now, and then you're always on the phone with other GMs and other teams, and just getting a sense of what everyone's looking at and what they might want to do. So it differs on the day. I think as we get closer to the draft, you lean more draft, and I think everyone else does. So the phones sort of quiet down a little bit as we get closer to the draft here.
I think I saw that Pierre LeBrun might have tweeted that you've been getting calls for the number 2 pick, but you're not budging.
Yeah, not many.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I strongly believe that we'll be making that pick tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can you tell us who you're picking?
No.
How big has that debate been? How significant has that debate been at number 2?
It's been significant. There's just, there's great options. And so when you have great options, then you have to talk it through. You have to really break it down. And, it's been really fun. It's been really exciting. It's been good for the group to have that opportunity to talk about different options and different avenues that we could take this. And so, tons of debate, but really healthy and productive.
The prevailing wisdom is defense after getting Bedard. Is that a fair? What would you say about that?
I don't necessarily know that there's a logical way that we would go because we've got Connor. I think you just try and sort the options and figure out which one makes the most sense for us in the big picture, and you go with it. But it's not, if we had, first overall last year was a defenseman, I don't necessarily know if we'd be having to take a forward or and vice versa, right? So I think you just try and sort through what's available to us right now and what the options are and try to make the best.
You weren't in the big chair in 2019, but it was a similar situation where everyone knew what was going to happen before the Hawks picked, and you guys were going to set the direction of the draft beyond that. Did you learn any lessons from the Kirby Doc draft where you kind of how to approach that big decision?
I don't know if there's anything specific. It's for us and myself. It's mostly just about running our process and making sure that we make the best decision for us in the big picture things. And so I don't necessarily know if there's anything specific to take from that draft or that process. We've got a couple drafts under our belt here with this group, and so I think every year we're honing things and fine-tuning the process, and to the point where I think we just focus on what we need to focus on here, and I don't think there's too much. You always try and learn from the past, but I don't know if there's anything specific that we could take from that draft.
I assume your draft rankings are finalized now. Are you kind of thinking more specifically about exact guys you're looking at for that 18th and the second rounders?
Yeah. You're looking at ranges and trying to figure out, where players might be or who might come into play in certain areas. So yeah, we're kind of having those, but it's a little bit futile. Like you're guessing, just like everyone else would be guessing, and so but you still do it and you spin your wheels and so that's the fun of it though, the guessing and the trying to kind of mock things out in your own mind.
But have you made your choice for your first pick? Is it clear for you, or is it still in the air in discussions until tomorrow?
No, I think we feel pretty confident with where we're going to go.
There's been a lot of debate in the public sphere about mainly 2 guys, maybe a third. How much debate has there been in your room? Like, how close is this race deciding between these guys?
Yeah, well, they're all really good options, and so that just lends itself to a debate that you want to give the proper time to, right? And you don't want to anoint anyone or any one direction too soon, and so you give it time to breathe, you give it time to digest new information, and so it's been a pretty healthy debate and one that we've taken a lot of time to consider. But again, with great options come that debate. If it was a no-brainer, then probably would have known months ago or whenever the lottery was. So
More people recognize you in Las Vegas?
no one's. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, and kind of stuck to inside. It's a little hot outside, so I haven't gone on many walks. The only people that are recognizing me are other hockey people. So
What's the dialogue been league-wide trade chatter relative to last year in your eyes?
I'd say about the same. Yeah. No, not a ton different. Just I feel like obviously last year we were trying to move up, and there was less dialogue around that last year, and so it feels like there's more of that sort of thing. Just people.
You already moved
poking
up.
around.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
You already moved up in the first round, and we saw a top 15 pick being moved. Is there the kind of chatter that's been going on, and is the door still open on your side to move up from that 18th spot?
Yeah, there's been talk both ways. Teams behind us looking to move up, teams in front of us looking to move back, and for the most part, I chalk that up to teams just doing their due diligence to know what's available to them should they need to. It's you have such limited time to act when you're on the floor and picks start going off the board and that clock's ticking, that you just want to know what's possible, what's not. It doesn't necessarily mean that something's going to happen at all or ahead of time, but teams are just making sure they know the landscape before they go into the draft.
If I could go back to Mikheyev, is there any truth that there were other teams trying to enter?
I have no idea. That would be a Vancouver question on that one. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
Are you interested in moving up still if the right opportunity is there? Is that something you're considering?
Yeah, I think just you have to be open to anything. As picks start going off the board, you have to be open to that. But you also, as they start coming and you look at your list, like if there are a bunch of players there, then you can slide back too. And like we know that there are some teams that would be willing to move up, and we could slide back if we feel that's advantageous. But right now it feels, I feel comfortable at 18, so we'll just kind of see how the day goes as we get into the first round there.
How comfortable do you feel about the overall draft process? What about the previous drafts? Do you feel like you gained experience on that you feel good about going into this one?
I feel more for our group. I think the group gets better, and not that there were deficiencies in the process in previous years. Just sometimes there's information that we're looking for that we just have to go back and ask for, but it feels like we're doing that less and less, where the scouts know what we're looking for at the management level. They know what we're looking for from a report, game and personality standpoint and that kind of thing. And so I just feel like our process and our information gathering is really taken a step this year, and that just comes with reps, right? It's our third draft as a group together, and the group continues to get better. So it's been great.
As you leave Vegas with this number 2 pick and the other prospects that you gain, and after last year's draft, where do you think this leaves the franchise as you leave? Like what position, what do you see the franchise as you start making moves in free agency and that?
Yeah, I believe it's going to leave us in a really, really strong spot from a prospect and young, player standpoint. And so that's extremely exciting. Given what we set out to do a couple of years ago, this is where we want it to be. We want to be in this position where we feel really good about not just a handful of players, but a number of players and a collection of players that we could really see coming up and forming something special. And I strongly believe that we'll leave Vegas feeling that way. And so that's really exciting. It also allows us to hone our focus on, when looking to acquire NHL talent, whether it be through trade or free agency, where, we feel good about some of the young players, but you don't want to get too high or too low on them. But knowing that they're coming in and how well they're progressing in most cases, it allows you to really kind of focus in on what you want to do at the NHL level.
What were your impressions of Demidov after getting to spend some time with him last week?
Yeah, no, it was great, just to be able to meet him and really, really impressive young man. And yeah, it was nice. It was a great event that Dan Milstein and Gold Star put on to allow the opportunity for teams to meet Ivan, but a couple other players that we just haven't had access to in the past. And I was just really impressed with all of them, to be honest. Ivan was great, but there were a number of other players that we met too, and you just leave very, very impressed and enjoying their company too, just at the most basic level. So it was really great piece of information for us, and a great sort of button to put on the draft process. It was necessary for everything to come in.
The picks you swapped with the Canucks yesterday were 2027 picks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing we see a lot in the NHL. Yep. Picks 3 years from now. How did it get in the conversation? Picks that are so far away and you don't know exactly where you're going to be in your rebuild process at this
mm-hmm.
point. So
yeah, it's more so about the options they provide. We've got multiple second round picks in every round up to 2027. And so it was just, it allowed us to add another top, 2-round pick down the road to go with the other ones previous to that. And, our thought process on that is that, again, these are all assets. And as we build this out and the team improves, again, you can make that pick, or it's currency to use in the trade market. And so, it's just trying to spread out the picks and make sure we've got a good base moving forward, and not, 5 or something in 1 year, and then we have to move those and push them out. This way, they're just spread evenly moving forward. So it just made sense for us, and I think it made sense, on their end to push it out as well.
Yeah, after making the trade and adding, potentially 2 middle 6, bottom 6 players, is there any priority in entering free agency to add more offense or top of the lineup players? Do you see that coming Monday?
Yeah, I think it's something that we plan on exploring. Again, once you get into that realm, you're talking bigger money, bigger term, bigger commitment, and so we have to make sure it makes sense. Would we like to add more offense? Yeah, we would, but it's got to make sense. It's got to fit, and so we'll explore what's there and see if it does make sense. And but it's something we'll look into for sure.
To take that step that you sort of wanted, does offense, do you need more offense to do that, do you think?
Potentially, I do believe that we will have. Look, we basically didn't have Taylor Hall or Andreas Athanasiou for the whole year last year. So getting them, they're filling spots. They were here last year, but they weren't playing, and so that's going to be a big addition for us. I think Connor was great, but you expect him to continue to get used to the NHL and get more comfortable and continue his improvement and ascension. And so there will be natural progression in that way, but again, you want to help support that. You don't want to rely on just what's already in place, and you always want to try to improve. And so we'll explore it again, but we won't do anything that we believe impacts negatively on the longer term vision. But in taking a positive step, that can come from depth as well, right? And just having a stronger lineup top to bottom, and having options, perhaps like we've hopefully we can get Sam signed and just add him to that depth along with Ilya. But strengthening that middle 6, that bottom 6, I think it'll go a long way to improving the options for the coaching staff and the ability to maybe free up some easier ice time for some of those players up top of the lineup.
Given the variables, because you couldn't see Siliev up close,
mm-hmm. Yep.
But you got to see Artie as much as you wanted to at
right.
Michigan State. How did you root out those variables in comparing the two guys both being defensemen?
Yeah, it's it is difficult. You know, even when you do see the players, you know, if you're talking about different leagues and trying to put whether it's like a statistical equivalency of one league to another, just doing that in North America is tough. And so, you know, going overseas and then a player you haven't necessarily, or you haven't seen with your own eyes, or you know, the management hasn't been able to see is difficult, but that's part of the job, and that's part of the assessment, and you take that into account. But you know, we trust our information, we trust what we know about these players, and believe that we have you know, enough information to feel that we're comfortable with whatever decision we do go with.
Just back to the previous question, I mean, the odds are you'll probably have someone get injured again next year, and do you feel like you really have enough already that you'd be comfortable entering the year with the forward group, and if someone got injured, having to move someone up and that sort of thing? Or like, it just seems to me like it would probably be best to get a little bit more talent.
I'm not ruling out you know, adding players for sure. That's certainly not what I was alluding to, but you know, I do believe there is improvement to come from the players that we have that just weren't available to us last year. But having said that, yeah, I would like to add to the group if possible, but you know, that's to some extent that's out of my control. You know, we can do our best, but we're not going to do anything that's going to be to the detriment of what we're building here. But you know, we'll find that out next week when we you know, figure out where prices are and where, you know, if we're an appealing fit for people. And so and then we'll also explore trades too. You know, that's something that's ongoing. You know, there are options out there. We just have to decide if you know, any of them do make sense, and nothing has to this point. And so but you know, it is a busy time of year. Things pop up around the draft, and so we'll evaluate whatever comes up. But you know, yeah, I'd like to add to the group, but you know, sometimes you can only control what you can control. So
to the earlier point about the Russian leagues, does it give you any pause about Demidov not having more senior KHL time? I know this kind of been used as a knock against him, you know, his level of, not his level of play, but his level of competition.
I don't know. It's, you know, the leagues that players play in, you just have to evaluate what they do and how you project performance in that given league. And again, it is, you know, make no mistake, it is tougher when you can't go and get a feel for those leagues, right? That's just natural. But you know, I don't think it's a knock on whether it's him or any of the other players in that league, or you know, any other league that people might deem to be you know, less less strong, or they're weaker leagues, quote unquote. You know, I don't necessarily think you knock down a player because of that. You know, it's just, that's where they're playing, and it's a stepping stone to somewhere. So you know, would you like to have easy access and they play in a league that you're very comfortable with and knowledgeable of, and have a lot of historical context around? Of course, but that's just not, it's not the world we operate in.
We all silly like the mayor.